And welcome to another special edition of BDLL Europe for Saturday, August 8th, 2020. How's everybody doing?
Doing really
Absolutely
well.
Very well.
fantastic.
Great.
Hello, everyone.
Fantastic.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
We are
Doing great.
officially open for business.
Yay.
And
Yay.
as I told these guys in the pre-show, there is a mower outside because it's the perfect time to mow right now while we're live streaming. So if you hear that, sorry to say, nothing I can do about it. But other than that, so, we've been shying away from the whole distro thing on the regular BDLs, and I've been trying to keep like the BDLL Europe edition for kind of like other topics and other discussions that we would have. So this is going to be no different, and we're just going to first of all, I'm going to open it up to you guys to see what you guys have been doing for the last month. And then we'll go into some just normal. I gotta post a Twitter post that I want to talk about from EG, and I got myself in trouble, because he posted a tweet about, what are some things that you would admit basically that would get your Linux card revoked. So me being, the person of, oh yeah, this and this, and I wrote it out there, and then after I hit reply, I just thought about what I read, which is not how you should do that. You should not hit reply and then think about what you wrote. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. Yeah, we'll get into it. But what's everybody been doing? What have you been doing? Jill, you weren't here last month. What have you been doing?
Oh boy, doing quite a few podcasts, including I've been having fun going on English Bob's podcasts as well on Friday mornings. His EB and U lot. That's been fun.
Yep.
He had been out for the last few weeks, but that's been a lot of fun, and joining your new show's Telegram group, user space.
Yep, Linux user space.
And Wimpy's World. Everyone go to the Wimpy's World Discord channel. That's been a lot of fun.
Yep, he's putting that together, and I'm not sure what the goal is for that. He's putting it together. It was almost for like a conglomerate of everything that he's doing, like Ubuntu Mate and, basically Wimpy's World, like everything in that. So
Yeah.
I believe that's actually the point of it. As far as I remember, he was talking about it. Everything would be there on the same point.
Yep. So I got to find a link for that, and we'll post that in the YouTube chat. But yeah, I don't think there's nothing that I've been doing that's real exciting. I mean, I've been editing podcasts and editing podcasts and editing podcasts. So really, that's like been my week. I haven't done nothing major. So anybody else? Osed, you said you got new hardware, I thought?
Oh yeah, I got like an old 720p TV. I'm using as a second monitor. It's a very good experience. Like once you go dual monitors, you never go back.
Right?
Yeah, really convenient being able to like interact with the Zoom chat and like see you guys on my second monitor and do actual stuff on my main monitor. It's a very surreal experience.
Now, have you run into any issues with like the dual monitor setup? Because I know I used to run into things like, Windows would pop on the wrong screen or things like that.
I was actually pretty surprised. Like I plugged in the monitor and KDE gave me a nice little prompt asking me what to do with the monitor. I told I selected that it would extend the desktop, and it works. There's some behavior I'm not used to, like alt tabbing and stuff like that, but I'm getting used to it. Although I expected it to be I expected each monitor to have a separate workspace, and like the applications aren't shared, but it wasn't set up like that. So I'll have to look more into it if there's any more configuration options for dual monitors. But it's good so far. I really like it.
Well, let me make a correction, because Cubicle Nate in chat, he says, what do you mean wrong screen? when I said things would pop up on the wrong screen. What I mean by that, maybe not the wrong screen, bad choice of words. Windows would pop up on the not expected screen. So I'm working on this screen and I open, say, Dolphin or some whatever file manager, and it would pop up on that screen over there. So that's what I mean, Nate. Yes. So we have Ziggy in the house. How are you, sir? Welcome to BDLL.
Thank you very much. Let me repeat because I really feel it strongly. I feel I found my tribe. You have a great philosophy of sharing and helping others to learn, particularly new people like me. Although I've been, interested in computers and technology in general for a very, very long time. I think the first computer I touched was September 1984, an IBM.
Oh my!
At a university, and I just fell in love with it immediately. But I really didn't get into Linux. A friend of mine sort of played around with it about late 90s, early 2000s, and that was a time when it was really difficult to get something installed, so I gave up. And what's really spurred me is, I've been a Windows 7 person for a long, long time. Very happy with that particular operating system, but of course they've shut it down. So just a year ago, this month, I said, that's it. I'm moving to Linux and it's going to make it my permanent distro. So I've been doing that. I dual boot with Windows 7 for the few programs I still need to use. And I follow all the discussions around that idea of, look, you use what you need, what you have to use, be that Windows or Linux. I prefer to use Linux from now on, but I maintain a couple of programs that I use particularly for video editing and that kind of thing in Windows. I just boot into that, but I'm really, really loving it, and I'm learning so much every day.
Well, what do you use for video editing, Ziggy?
I have a very old Adobe Creative Suite. Is it 6? So it's about 12 years old, I think. So After Effects and Premiere Pro.
Right.
And I'm used to that. So I'm interested in finding something in Linux that will work reasonably well. So I follow all those discussions about video editors, and I followed your discussion about, I forgot what it's called again. Is it
DaVinci Resolve?
Yeah. So I'm kind of looking at maybe buying that and experimenting with that, so I can move permanently over to that kind of way of working within Linux. So I think that's probably one of my next steps in the autumn. And just very briefly, the one thing I'm doing at the moment is I'm interested in using WireGuard VPN to get into my FreeNAS server at home when I'm away. So I've just managed to get that working. The only thing is it's running in a Ubuntu server VM, and every now and again it goes down for some reason I can't quite track down. So I'm working on that at the moment, but it's fabulous. I was away for a few days last week and just been able to access securely your home server. It's just brilliant. I love it.
Very nice.
So that's what I've been.
Well, Nate has a question in chat. He said, was that an IBM XT, and do you still have it?
I can't remember what it was called because it was based there in the university, but I remember it had those really large floppies. So yep. you loaded the operating system, and then you use commands to write stuff, and I used to write my essays on it, and then I bought an Amstrad. Remember the Amstrads?
No.
Oh yes.
No.
No. All right. Okay. I bought an Amstrad with the green screen, and that was the only thing I could afford at the time. Then I moved to Windows 3.1, and stayed on Windows for many, many years. But I have the same issues with Windows 10 as everybody else seems to have, the whole thing about privacy and so on. So having just moved to Linux recently in the last year, it does really feel like, if it's not quite the year of the desktop, it's there in terms of being able to use it as your daily use case, your daily driver. So I'm really happy, I have to say.
Well, it's good to have you here, man.
Thank you.
And
awesome, and welcome. Yay!
Well, do you remember those, Jill?
Oh yes, oh yes. I don't have an Amstrad. That is something I do need for my collection, but I had heavily used them. And your IBM, it was probably an XT. Did it have MFM drives in it?
Explain that to me.
The type of hard drive was MFM, and the IBM XTs came with those drives, and that's one way you can know that it's an XT.
I don't actually know, because as I say, you had to, if I'm remembering correctly, you had to take a great big floppy,
Yeah, and boot it.
boot it from that, and then you could do. Now, how did I manage to save my essays when I was writing those essays? I can't remember. I think maybe I had my own floppy.
You just saved it to another floppy. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. But I don't remember the bit of, because obviously it was all very new to me. I don't recall there being a hard drive. Was there a hard drive in there?
Some people had them and some didn't, but mine does. So
Yeah, the higher end ones had hard drives, but
yeah.
not all of them did.
Yeah, correct.
Now that I'm thinking about it, it was a row of computers in the computer room in university. So they were a bit like, with the CRT screen and all the rest of it. So I guess maybe they didn't have, because it wasn't a big machine.
Yeah, they might not have. They probably were trying to minimize
Yeah,
costs.
save money.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was very expensive to get a hard drive.
Sure was. Yeah, you wouldn't do that for every machine. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was 1984. That's how old I am.
Yeah. You know what's cool about the IBM XT is that was my first machine I checked for Y2K compliance, and it was compliant. So everyone complaining,
Nice.
that we're gonna die, because stuff was gonna stop, and that machine kept going. I figured we're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And we also have Sam with us. He's also new. Welcome to Biddle, Sam.
Thank you. I've been a seasoned Linux user. I've started using Linux in 2008, but currently I'm forced to use Windows, so I just sort of feel out of place. And I've been a regular follower of Linux news and all. I'm a big fan of Joe Collins and
Yep.
Landuk show.
Yep.
So when I also watch your shows on Big Daddy. So when I saw that this was going online, so just thought to come in and be with the clan, as Ziggy said. I'm really a big Linux or Ubuntu fan, and I like open source things. But currently I'm on Windows. Seriously, I hate the Windows 10 thing, I can say it, because it's so hoggy on RAM. I have a 32 GB RAM system. If I just boot the system, it takes 8 GB just on idle, and I just can't understand what does it take. It's so bad, and I have a 8-year-old system, and it just runs on probably 1 GB of RAM.
Right.
So that's how it is. And I'm seriously a big advocate of privacy and stuff. So I just feel like forced to work under surveillance. Seriously.
Yeah, it's a shame, especially when you don't want to be there. Like, some people don't care. Some people will run Windows and not have a problem, not have an issue. And that's okay. That's okay if they want to do that. But there are other people that, don't want to run Windows and really have no choice.
So if I look at Windows now, more than a product, it feels like a subscription for me now.
Well, I think that's what they want it to be now.
I don't know, Rocco. I think this segues right into the opening tweet that you were talking about.
I think it does. At some point, I want to get to MC. I want to get to see if you actually pulled the trigger on that computer or not.
Yes, definitely
the parts. But we'll get to that. We'll save that, I guess. So let's get into this tweet, because I thought it was a great starter conversation. So the tweet says, it's a it's basically a picture with some words on it and says confessions that can get your Linux card revoked. And you were supposed to just put whatever you wanted, basically. But I ended up, and I'm going to just start it out, and you guys can finish on what you do. But the first one is I have an iMac sitting right next to me on the desktop. So right next to my Linux machine is an iMac, which is probably not, copacetic with some Linux users. I dual boot Windows on my Linux main machine so I can play games like Call of Duty. I have never compiled anything. And, I never, okay, so maybe I shouldn't have said I never have compiled anything because I'm sure that I did at some point, but I don't remember what it was and I don't remember doing it. So I'm sure that at some point, especially in the earlier days when I came over to Linux, I'm sure I compiled something, but I don't remember doing it. And the last one is I have never called it GNU/Linux. Calling it Linux is just fine with me. So that's not a very popular opinion with some of the hardcore people, but those are my confessions that may get my Linux card revoked. So if you don't see Biddle next week, you know what happened. Let's start with you, Dan. Give me a confession that would get your Linux card revoked.
I administer Windows servers for my day job.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know. That's the biggest one I got.
That's the biggest one you got? Nothing else? Nothing else you want to share
Well,
with?
I mean...
Nothing else you want to admit, right?
I got some of my immediate family members that I haven't been able to switch to Linux yet. So I help them with their Windows machines.
But that's not something that... I don't think that's something that would get your Linux card revoked, though, dude. Because I think we all have family members.
I don't discourage their Windows utilization. Let's put it that way.
Right.
I let them use what they want.
As you should. You should let them.
But, that's if you're a hardcore Linux guy, that's not so popular, right?
Yeah, you're right. All right, Dave Jones.
Hey, Rocco. I guess my confession would be that I have a Plex media server that's running Windows.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Wowie.
Yeah, I've been meaning to change it, but then I think of it's too much work, so I just keep it. And I too also administer Windows servers along with about 70 Windows PCs at my day job.
Well, some of those things, like I said, like Dan and you, I mean, that's nothing. There's nothing you can do about that. That's part of job. That's part of a job, dude.
Yeah. Although I will say that I am slowly switching over some of those computers that I can to Linux. It used to be closer to like 90 computers. We have like 90 computers in the library that I work at, and I've converted a bunch of them over to Linux. But there's just some that you just can't do.
Yep. All right, Bill. It's your turn.
My turn.
Yeah.
I've never done any. I've never done anything.
Whatever, Bill. Whatever.
I don't use GNU, Linux, whatever. I think it's insane to have to put GNU/ in front of it. What else have I done? I like snaps.
That's
so
very
much.
controversial, Bill.
I posted something in Twitter and actually got lovely DMs from people that are so happy with snaps. See what else? I actually don't mind flat packs either. See what else would reject. I don't like LibreOffice one bit. Probably take my card right there for that. I did build sadly I had to donate a laptop to our neighbors because they don't have enough for the start of the school year. And because of requirements in their school district, I had to install Windows 10 on that. And guess what? The Windows 7 license on the back sticker works immediately to register that for Windows 10. So I did that this week and delivering that. Let's see, what else can I do? Let's see. Well, that's about. I mean, I run Office in Linux to do work. Well, I don't know. That's. I mean, I can have a lot of cards. I work on a. So here's one that I'm going to say that no one's going to like. I have before used a VS Code on the Windows machine to update software that some people use in Linux.
Pure
Wow.
evil.
That
Pure
is-
evil.
Hi, computer kid.
Hi, Jill.
So that's my confessions in Taxicab Confession, the Europe Biddle edition with Rago.
Dan, where's the ban button?
I don't know. Bill might be one of the most. Yeah, he might be safe.
Okay.
He might be pretty safe. I'm not sure.
I just wanted to ban
when
him
it-
just because, not because of his
Rocco,
confessions.
by the way, I've never actually gotten my Linux card. Is that going to be signed by, like, who's going to sign that?
I don't know
why-
who signs those, dude. I don't have mine yet either, so
You're just as rejected as I am. You're in the bad pile. Like, we're going to go down in the rotten egg pile and have
Yeah.
Willy Wonka.
I'm not competent enough to have the Linux card, so
Got denied before he got issued. Right?
all right, Jill, we need some confessions that would get your Linux card revoked.
Oh no! Yeah, I saw that tweet and I was like, I had to think about it and think about it. I think probably because I use a lot of proprietary software as well as free and open, because I have to for my work, which is computer animation and motion graphics.
Yep.
So DaVinci Resolve, I buy that, and Maya, for instance. But 90% of software I do use is open and free. So I think that's my only thing, really.
That's not enough to get your card revoked.
I don't think so.
But what would get my card revoked is me saying I like
Oh,
snaps and I like gnome, and hearing Ven and Pedro hear that, because on LWW I'm always the one that has to defend the snaps and gnome on LWW.
Well, see, here's their first problem, Jill. You're calling it gnome instead of gnome.
Yeah. Oh,
Gnome.
Yep.
sorry. Yeah, that's
I have
gnome.
All right, Eris, give me some confessions that would get your Linux card revoked, dude.
Well, I like snaps. I use the Firefox snap all the time. That's what I primarily use. I'm using Zoom right now. I'm using the with Flatpak. I have Windows installed on this computer. I haven't updated it in like a year, I think, but it's in there. I don't call it Linux. I call it GNU plus Linux plus systemd.
That's good, Harris.
Nice.
Yep, very nice.
I think that's about it. I'm not sure what else.
Big Pod, go ahead.
Now this will take maybe a long time. First of all, I hate using GNU/Linux. It's Linux. That's first of all. Linus Torvalds names it. He created the kernel, so he names it. If the guys wanna, they need to create one. Second, I dual boot Windows. Third, I prefer that people I administer have Windows, because I do not want a call every 5 minutes, how to do this, how to do that, how to do that. I just don't have time for that, and really will to do that. And if they want Windows, I install them Windows. If they have enough will to actually use the system and to actually learn something, okay. If you want, you can go ahead and have Linux, but then don't call me every 5 minutes, because you don't know what you're doing. And then, of course, I use a lot of proprietary software, because I personally am a person who says to use the right tool for the right job. And in many cases, proprietary software, sadly, is the right tool for that specific job. And
You guys do realize that I'm recording this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
You can upload that to wherever you want. You will repeat it 10 times. I don't care. I run a Windows server right here, actually a VM, but
Okay,
okay.
chat.
And
Do not lie.
I could probably find some more. Oh
You
yeah, I
want
hate
to today,
KDE.
Fred?
I hate KDE and love GNOME.
You hate KDE. That's strong words there, dude.
KDE Plasma is at best slightly usable.
We have to get rid of him.
Wow.
Oh wow. Wow.
As Rocco says, it's GNOME.
Nate's gonna come on here and start hitting people.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And if we're on good and bad, snaps are probably the best package manager available.
Interesting.
Wow,
That's
dude.
about
I
it.
think you're just trying to incite violence here. I think that's what you're trying to do.
I never liked Plasma, and I can't stand it still. I did use it for a while. I can use it, but I would rather use anything else.
Such an instigator.
I just
Yeah.
don't like it.
Well, at least you tried it, so you
Yeah.
can have an informed decision.
Yep.
I like that.
It's not for
Yeah, we're
everybody,
Fighting words.
but that's why we have choice. That's why we have, that's why we have
Yes.
GNOME. That's why we have
That's
XFCE. That's why we
That's
have all
right.
these other ones. So you can use what you want.
That's the power of Linux. You can use whatever you want, wherever you want, and I don't like that.
Well, okay. So on that note, though, isn't it bad though to have all that choice? I'm gonna put some controversial thoughts out there. Isn't it bad to have all that choice though?
Absolutely not.
Come on, like wouldn't we be better off if we had just one distro and just went no.
Why do
Alex,
you
what do
use
you
I don't think
Blueberry?
I don't think one distro, but I think we'd be better off without 500 different distros.
I
That
think
might
we
be
should
true,
have one
yes.
that I think we should have one that's like the main one, it's like the spearhead.
Yeah.
But then we should. I definitely want to have lots of them. I acknowledge that I use a niche distro,
Yeah.
but
I think
and
that
I think it should
okay.
still be a niche distro.
Go
But I
ahead.
think we should have one main one that we all agree on. But we'll
Mhm.
never do that. It's too
Yeah,
hard.
we'll
for us.
never agree. True computer kid.
Yeah.
No, you have a base. You have a base Ubuntu. You can just change the DE. That is, you can do that. Whatever you want. You're
Yeah.
just changing the DE.
I think that's
Your-
Correct.
you can do that with many of the big ones. Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
All right. Cool. Well, thanks, Big Pod. I think you're still pretty safe. I wouldn't worry about it.
Mhm.
Tony, go right ahead with your.
Well, within the first 12 months of running Linux, I got so fed up with it, I went back to Windows twice.
Wow.
But I did come back to
Wow.
Linux.
Oh, you're more than
So,
Windows
and
sounds more like an addiction.
yeah. And I use Google Chrome, not Firefox. And I use quite a lot of Google services for mail and other bits and pieces. But that's about it.
It's not too bad.
So you're a Google fan, is what you're saying?
Tony's
No.
probably already installed 2 distros while we're doing this, though.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to be goofy. Never mind.
Yeah.
I just like to use things at work. So I'm really
Shots
struggling to
fired.
understand why I'm still on Linux, actually. But, I shouldn't have said that. Sorry.
Rocco, what browser do you use?
Moving on, Dan. Next one.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Tony. That's great.
Okay.
MC, how about your confession?
Okay. Well, I hope the infraction committee has their paper and pencils ready to go, because here's a list for you. Like Rocco, I have never called it GNU/Linux. It's always just been. In fact, I didn't like, when I first started using it, I didn't like the term Linux. I liked Linux because I always thought his name was Linus. So I thought it was Linux and argued vehemently for several years about that. I haven't compiled anything since before the first Ubuntu came out, back when I tried Gentoo, I think it was like 2004. I use visualbasic.net on a daily basis to earn my income on a Windows box. And
Shouldn't you try to find a new job?
Right.
It would. But and my DJ business uses Windows computers to run all of the software on it. So I'm pretty, I bought my wife a Surface Pro earlier this year. And I have several Windows boxes. I'll probably end up over the next couple of years getting a couple Macs, because she really is starting to like Mac, and I'm afraid that that's where that's going to go. So, and you know what they say, happy wife. I still get to buy stuff. So,
and no stabbing at night. Yeah,
that's right. So, but and you know, I kind of agree that while choice is a great thing, I think Linux has it really just has so much choice that sometimes you get that paralysis of analysis that you just can't. What do I decide? You know, you can't try every distro out there because it would take you over a year, and by the time you got done with all of them, there's new versions of all of them.
Tony probably could.
I accept that challenge.
I was gonna say, I think
Distro
there's a lot of
Hoppers
people that will
Anonymous.
try.
So I really do think that there's a little bit too much choice. I think some people go, you know, they have, oh, this would be better if it just did this, and instead of trying to work with the community, they just go make their own thing. And in some cases that's very good, but I think in some cases that's a little bit too much. So,
well, I think that, you know, it's good that they're able to do that. Like, if you see something that doesn't work for you and you're able to code and you're able to change it to how you want to do it, and then you want to also put it out there so other people can use it, that's ultimately a good thing. I think the problem lies when you're trying to find a distro for yourself, or when you're suggesting a distro for somebody new. That, you know, that's the one thing that confuses so many new users, is which Linux distro. That's the one thing you get from companies when they talk about making software for Linux. You know, which distro should we shoot for making, you know, software? So it's a great thing, and it's also a bad thing. So,
and like Jill, I like snaps.
Yeah, me too.
Just put it in the UR.
I'm very.
Hey.
In fact, I like snaps so much that I don't like flat packs. So.
Wow. So you're a flat pack hater.
Ah.
I don't know if I hate it. I just haven't come across anything that I needed to install that I couldn't install via snap that I had to use a flat pack for. So.
It's not special enough for you.
Sorry, I don't like neither. I'm just a dev guy.
That's okay too. All right. Well, let's go with you, Sam. Give me some confessions. You've been, you know, you said about using Linux since 2008, I think. So give me some confessions that would get your Linux card revoked now.
I have many. First of all, I was a developer, so in this developer community, we mostly use Linux, and I've been trying to, set my parents into Linux, but they're like, I have my programs that's already running, and then I have to relearn things, and they're very frenzy about installing software through commands. So it's been like 3 years. I'm trying to set up my father Linux systems. I'm not able to do it. And now I'm not able to use Linux on my work because I'm forced into this Windows ecosystem with 365 and all that. So
yep,
I'm really, what I can say, I was trying to instill Linux into my family, and currently I can't use it. So I'm pissed. I don't know what to do now. So,
well, I mean, partial, that's not something that you can control either. I mean, and you wouldn't want to force Linux on your parents if they didn't want to use it.
No, I'm not saying I want to try to force it. I can see that what they're doing is just browsing and stuff, and I've seen their laptops or systems they're using getting infected every 2 months with viruses.
Yeah.
So it's actually a 2 days work for me. So it's better if you install Mint or Ubuntu or some XFCE Linux distro so that they can run it for like 10 years. Because I've seen my Linux distro that I've been using in my company last time, it was being used for like 5 years. So that's how it is.
All right. Chicken.
Is that me? Am I chicken?
You are. Well, I think you are. You used to be.
No, yeah, you're right.
He's grown up. He's chickle now.
I'm not allowed to call you chicken anymore?
Oh, no,
Come
you
on.
are. I was just joking.
Right.
I don't know that guy.
Aw.
So I guess a few of mine would be that Canonical and Ubuntu is probably one or two, I guess. But yeah, they're like one of the best things that's happened to Linux like ever. Microsoft is actually not that bad.
Wow,
And
dude.
if they
There you
were
go.
really a threat, like just by having open source stuff available, are we like, what are we even offering? Like, if our draw is just taken away by Microsoft open sourcing stuff, like we're kind of useless. I also think that systemd is great, and I also think snaps are great. And
you're batting 1,000.
also, yeah, I know. I think that with obvious exceptions, Linux users are way too entitled.
No.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You
I
hurt
don't
my
think so.
feelings.
Oh yeah.
We're not entitled. We want freedom.
It depends on each one.
Yeah.
Yeah, each person, yeah.
Each person
Yeah,
is different.
that is kind of a generalization, but I would say, yeah, there are people who are like that.
I mean, the world is complex. I mean, each one has his own needs, and so.
And I really doubt the route that Microsoft is taking, because they have this famous philosophy of embrace, extinguish,
Yep.
extend, extinguish. So on the when we see from the outside, it may look that, oh, they have just evolved and started embracing open source. But I won't forget the famous statement when they called it a cancer. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, they have done that, but my question is then, is it possible with the, that statement was made many years ago. Is it possible with the change of people and the new leadership that the whole culture of the company is changing?
The actual person who said that has personally come out and taken it back.
But in corporation, it's hard to make a change. I mean, the change takes very slowly. So.
Yeah, because you're talking a whole culture change of all different people. And when you have that mindset built into the company, that's hard to change, dude. That is really hard.
Yeah, I mean, you need a lot of generation. I mean, at least, 3 generations. Maybe it's my subjective point of view. That's what I would think.
If they have accepted this culture, so why don't they open source Windows XP?
Well, I think that's also comes down
it's
to how much
a
time
good
and
question.
effort they want to put into that for whatever gain they're going to get out of it. Like they're
And
also
how much money they're making out of it.
they're also a company, so they're there to make money. They're not going to
Yeah, they're never going to cut a revenue stream for the good of the people.
Well, and the other thing to remember is that Microsoft is always built on top of. So there's actually still some Windows 95 code in Windows 10.
Yeah,
some
sure.
XP code.
Yes.
If they open sourced XP, they would have to open source Windows 10, and they're not going to do that because until they make it complete, until they have their complete web version only, they have nothing to gain by doing that. And everything, and they are still a corporation, and every corporation has one responsibility, and that's to its stockholders.
Yep.
Whether you like it or not, but all corporations have one responsibility, and that is to the benefit of the stockholders. So Microsoft will never do anything that will shoot the stockholders in the foot, and open sourcing anything that could damage Windows 10 is not going to do that until they're ready to sunset Windows 10 completely and have a complete new code base.
Yeah, because it's NT based, and XP is NT based, and it started with Windows NT 3.1, and then 4.0, and then XP, and 2000. So
there is code in Windows that they have licensed from other vendors, so they can't just here it is because we want to be nice. It's not simplistic, and you take the whole idea of that. So this is Microsoft and a huge company. And if you listen to like Popey's discussion on Launchpad, when they went through a lot of work for Launchpad and really got no gain, I think there's one other company in the world using it. it's just not like magic where we say, just open source it. Everything's fine and dandy. It's very difficult. And a lot of you hear again and again and again the same arguments about Microsoft. The people that said some of these statements no longer work for the company. If you look at some of their open projects, the amount of time that Microsoft is investing in WSL, you have some people like Kayla Cinnamon, who's one of the Windows Terminal. She's super out there in the community, in Twitter. Their involvement with the community is awesome. You can go in today.
So is Hayden Barnes.
And
yeah,
Hayden's. You can go in today and make commits and changes on a Microsoft project on GitHub, have those changes accepted, and be part of a software development that Microsoft is doing. You couldn't do that a couple years ago. Even a couple years ago, there is a change. And looking back and saying a company made a statement 20 years ago, you can make that statement about IBM. Every company has done things negatively.
Yeah,
So
true.
some of it is you have to get past. People aren't in that company anymore. Bill Gates is not in that company.
Well, I think Nate made a
sorry.
statement in chat, and he said, trust but verify. And I think that's a perfect statement there, because that's, as you're talking about, Bill, they are taking steps to give back to the open source community. Whether you think that's enough or whether you think they should be doing more or different things, they are making steps and strides to do that. We're all going to have to wait and see. It's all going to be a time thing where when we look back, we're going to see, okay, maybe they weren't so, good in their intentions. Or we'll look back and say, yeah, they were good in their intentions. We just didn't see it.
I think it's important to take baby steps into that, into anything really, honestly, because I think it's a good approach, and they can make sure that they're going the right direction, and they've got the time to do it. So why not?
Well, and the other thing is the that famous motto, the embrace, extend, extinguish. The problem is how do you extinguish open source?
Yeah, you
can't. Really can't. I mean, everything they put out in open source, if they decide tomorrow, somebody else takes over and they decide tomorrow we're done with open source, everything they have out there is still on an open source license. And even if they cancel it, you can still fork what's there right now. If someone were to, if some, multi-billion-dollar company or trillion-dollar company comes out and somehow buys Linux, the Linux kernel can be forked today and that project continued. So you can't extinguish open source. Once something's been open source, it can be forked, it can be modified. You can, the company that did it can stop that particular advancement. They can't stop other people from modifying what's already open sourced.
Very true. All right. I see you got your hand up, Big Pod. We'll get back to you in a little bit. I want to get the conversation back on the track. So Ziggy, go ahead and let us know which possibly could have your Linux card revoked.
I'm gonna twist that on its head slightly, in the sense that because I'm so new at Linux, only at it really a year, what I'm going to say is, well, I wouldn't even be experienced enough to have a card to begin with. But what I'm going to say is, I was in a Windows cult for 20 years, but I just didn't know it, and someone pulled me out.
Very nice.
So that'll be my excuse if they were going to take my card away, if I had one.
You drank the Kool-Aid.
Oh, wonderful, Ziggy.
No, I took the red pill.
Okay.
You took the red pill. All right. I got it.
What was the blue pill? I can never remember.
All right. Thanks. Computer Kid. What? No, there you go. Bye-bye. No, come back.
Okay,
what could
back.
possibly
Sorry.
get your Linux card revoked?
So I don't even know if there's that much. I use like one proprietary app on my computer, being Spotify, and okay, this is gonna get me attacked a little bit. I'm not a huge fan of Pop! OS or Fedora.
Why?
I don't particularly like either of them. Pop! OS has just always felt clunky, and it was never really an enjoyable experience to me. And Fedora has always felt the same, just kind of like clunky and not great to use. I don't know. It just didn't feel comfortable to me.
I'm revoking your Linux card right now.
That's it. We're pulling it.
Aw.
So mean.
So which distro do you use?
I currently am using Arch.
By the way.
By the way,
Love
by the
Arch.
way, yes, I am. I agree with Shickle. I think Ubuntu and Canonical are cool. I think they're pretty awesome. And I agree with that. I don't think that Microsoft is evil per se. I think they're trying to make money and they'll do what's in the best favor of that. But I don't think they're evil. That's all I've got. So apparently it's been revoked for Fedora and Pop! OS. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
All right, Abdallah.
Yeah. Well, is it about my story, how I did begin with Linux, or?
You can start with either one, dude.
Okay. Well, I did hear about Linux since I was in 2000. I mean, I just heard about it, but I never touched it or seen it for real. I mean, I see it for the first time for real in 2015 because I did buy a computer, and it was very weak one when I tried on Windows. So I said, okay, let me try Linux. And at first I freaked out because I did make sure that I will have a dual boot, but instead of getting the dual boot, it's going directly to Linux Mint. Then I found somebody who helped me on Hex chat. He gave me some commands in order to make the grub, maybe, and then I was able to boot the Linux to boot Linux in Windows. But then, I mean, after like 2017, I stopped using Linux and returned back to Windows. And I returned back to Linux in, well, this year. I mean, I returned to Linux Mint. And then recently I switched to Ubuntu. So,
So what brought you back from Windows to Linux this last time?
I mean, it was mostly for gaming. I mean, I wanted to play Battlefield 1. Hello?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was mostly because of gaming. So, and I did buy a new computer. I told myself, okay, I mean, my computer is powerful enough. I have a new computer. It's powerful enough. So I don't need Linux anymore. But even still, I returned it back. And even I converted a grandmother. I converted her to Linux Mint. So I could be able to make her computer more faster. So, and I tried to convert my wife, but it wasn't very successful because first I did convert her to Linux Manjaro, and it wasn't very stable. So and then when I tried to convert her to Linux Mint, she had a bad experience with Manjaro, which was crashing each time in her Lenovo Z570. I mean, if I remember the model. So she said, "No, I will not touch it. I mean, I don't want the same experience that I had with Manjaro to happen to me in Linux Mint." So
otherwise, you'd be sleeping on the couch.
Anyway.
All right. So now that you gave us your story, so what would get your Linux card revoked today?
I mean, if I'm using a proprietary, program, well,
yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we could consider Sublime as a proprietary. But I don't mind to use proprietary programs as long it's do the job. the goal of Linux is freedom. I mean, you could do whatever you want. I mean, you don't have to be principled on that. So if it gets the job done and it causing no conflict in your program, I mean, I don't mind it. So if I'm not mistaken, Big Pod says that KDE is his least favorable desktop. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, KDE.
What?
Yeah, Plasma.
Yeah, Plasma.
Yeah. I agree with him with that. I did try it and I didn't like it too. So, and well, apart that, my favorite desktop is XFCE. So that's it.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All these plasma traders must be stopped.
I mean, I didn't like it.
growing in
Somebody
number.
will like it. So that's. I mean, each one is free to choose whatever he wants.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, Robin,
Hey guys,
how are you?
Hey.
I'm all right, thank you. Finally got a haircut, by the way.
Nice.
Hey, Robin.
Finally. Well, I mean, my for me, I mean, I will admit that the biggest niggle for me at the moment is the fact that I have to use Windows still for the bulk of my work. But during this lockdown period, I've been able to have a little play with trying to change my workflows to be predominantly Linux based. And I will say, because of the tools that I use is all cloud-based, I'm able to do a lot of stuff through the browser and obviously access stuff through remote access, which is fantastic. So the only real time I have to touch Windows really is when I have to do some video editing, which unfortunately I have to use all the tools that Premiere Pro offers. And of course, obviously, my work give me a license to be able to sign in and actually use those tools. But at the moment, I would say for me, I'm still having troubles deciding Flatpak versus Snap. I mean, every distro that I touch, there's always something different about it in terms of the software that's given to you out of the box. I find myself as well, when I'm doing stuff in Ubuntu-based distros, that I'm always running the same commands through the terminal. I love the terminal. It's the way that I feel that I'm learning Linux more. When I try to sort of talk about Linux around my friends and family, they talk about the troubles that they're having with Windows, and I'm like, well, you don't get any of that with Linux. You know, you just load up Ubuntu and it works straight away. You know, got that. But yeah, they will get into an engaging conversation with me, but it's very hard to kind of keep them steer towards that, because obviously they're heavily Windows users, as they always are. But yeah, so I mean, I started my my Linux journey with FreeBSD back in early 2000, and I looked at that UI and just thought, what is this? It's like, how can anybody use this? So, which is probably why there wasn't really much tools around at the time. And then I started touching Ubuntu back in 2015, and I've been on and off ever since. But I just nowadays I just can't find myself being without Linux. I mean, it's probably more to do with this hardware that I've got here, the fact that I've stayed with the same hardware for so long. This desktop now is just a smidge on 10 years old now, with a few upgrades. Ubuntu works straight away, and Arch works. Anything I throw at it, the drivers are there. So while the drivers are still there, it's all supported, then it's all great, and I just love it. But if you asking for something that will probably take my Linux card away, it's the fact that I am still a distro hopper. I can't stick to something for more than 2 weeks thinking, oh, just go install this little beauty and give this one a go. The fact that I'm running Ubuntu Budgie here today because I'm trying out the 2004.1 release, and yeah, I'm now starting to think, well, why did I leave Budgie in the first place? So,
Budgie's really nice, man.
And today I've been playing with Solus Budgie to try and see if I can get Solus to do the same thing as Ubuntu. So yeah, I don't know. Distro hopper still. Sorry.
That's okay. I don't think that'll get your Linux card revoked.
Oh, thank you.
Robin, I can give you a suggestion. Why don't you start a Linux channel so that you can, convert your hobby into a review of the distros that you hop, because 2 weeks you can give a good review for all the distros or whatever you're using. So I think you can make your guilt into another passion.
Yeah, and call it Little Daddy Linux.
Little Daddy Linux. Thank
No,
you.
don't do
Yeah.
that.
Robin does have some really
does.
good videos.
He does have a YouTube
Yeah, I mean-
channel.
Yeah.
Actually,
I mean, I've got a YouTube channel, and I've also I've got to find ways of trying to enhance on that more, because I'm not really getting much feedback. I'm not getting much views, but when I do demonstrate these distros, I actually will go through in detail, and I will show it from installation through to actual use. And then when I start looking at the length of my videos, thinking like, oh, I've gone over an hour or so, are people going to sit there and watch this for a whole hour? Believe it or not, my top most viewed video at the moment is Ubuntu. I don't know why people are still coming back to my Ubuntu video.
Maybe it looks more like Windows.
Maybe.
Robin, I think the reason is because Adam and I were on there trolling you when you were doing that video.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You two were in voice, weren't you? You were in voice chat when I was doing that one. Yeah.
Well,
But
Robin, go ahead and drop a link in the.
I
the
did
Zoom
already.
chat. Oh, okay. Never mind.
cheers,
that.
guys. Cheers, guys.
I'm not speaking.
Yes, we did drop a link to your channel in YouTube, Robin. So thank you very much.
I will surely subscribe that.
And OpenSUSE Leap is also another one that's doing quite well on my channel at the moment.
All right, Adam Grubbs, sir, how are you?
So first off, your premise is flawed, as I never had a Linux card. At least if I did, it must have gotten lost in the mail.
All right, so let's be hypothetical.
There we
Adam.
go.
If you did have a Linux card, what would get it revoked?
Well, honestly, I think computers were a mistake, and we should all just be carpenters. But that's just me.
Mhm.
No,
I agree.
I think there are better options out there than Linux. They're just expensive.
That's a controversial opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are they? Adam, come on, do tell. do tell.
I know
that would be
agree.
Mac OS,
I
right?
take it back.
Yeah. So I think Mac OS is a better system than Linux. And yeah, the problem is either you don't like it, that's fine, or you can't afford it. That's not fine. Get money. But no, but seriously.
Wow.
I think
Free
Mac OS
versus money, Adam. Remember that.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Second one would be I have to go with
Well,
everyone
wait,
else,
wait,
you know what I'm
wait,
saying?
wait,
What,
wait. We
what?
have to talk about that right there for a little
Do
bit.
you?
Yeah, we do. We have to talk about that for a
Oh,
little
okay,
bit.
here we go.
So when
Adam
you
thought
say
it was a throwaway.
when you say
Yeah.
better, how do you? Because like that's subjective to what people want to do with their computer. So what do you mean by saying better?
Anything except for gaming. That's the only thing. And that's partially a software problem, not really much of a hardware issue. I think there are gaming capable Macs, but no, for objectively for almost anything you want to do, it's better on Mac OS. There's all of the terminal goodness that you like about Linux is on Mac OS. All of the proprietary software you want to use is on Mac OS. All of the free software you want to use can be compiled and can be ran on Mac OS.
All of the games
hardware
are
support is
in
better.
in Mac OS.
What if I want to?
Games is
what
the
if I
only
want
thing,
to
yeah.
buy the way use Arch? Can I buy the way use Arch on Mac
No,
OS?
because we're trying to help
Yeah.
you do the right thing, not use Arch.
Okay.
I mean,
Wait a
think
minute. Wait a minute.
I knew this was going to be a controversial subject.
Yeah,
we
yeah.
needed. That's why we needed to talk about it.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, shouldn't the "by the way I use Linux" thing, should that not be like copyrighted or patented to Ryan, perhaps?
Maybe.
It's
So,
it's a tale as old as
Sam, you
time,
wanted
so-
to get in on this?
My statement would be another big controversy, maybe, because I think Mac OS is good because some trillion-dollar company is backing it up. So
Well, to be honest with you, I think macOS is good. You know, I'm not a guy who sits there and lambaste, so Windows is terrible, Mac's terrible, and the only thing you should run is Linux. My experience
no.
with Mac is awesome. As far as, I mean, talk about
terminal, The terminal is really awesome. You can get a very granular control using Macs. I've used it. The only gripe that I have is with Windows because it's a garbage system. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But
you talk about Mac OS and you talk about convergence. Man, that is like the epitome of convergence.
Yeah.
They have it down pat. I can take a photo on my phone and it's
Well, I mean,
instantly
even-
on my desktop. I mean,
even
like,
keeping that out of the picture, right? Like, I say you don't want to use an iPhone or whatever, that's fine. Like, objectively, like the system is capable of doing far more than people think it is, and it's architected well. They have a nice back end in terms of their file system. Because, they have their file
And
system has a lot of containerization and such, which is something that is struggling to happen on Linux. There, I mean, some folks are doing it. They have awesome backup tools and things like Time Machine. Like the system is a lot more open than people think. Like you can really do a lot with it right now, at least. I don't know about when they switch to Silicon. We'll find out then. But right now, it's actually pretty nice. Like
And the machines are also well built, so you have to put that out there. They're well designed, well built, and they have longevity. I have a 2009 Mac Pro, classic Mac Pro, the old original cheese grater type Mac, and that bad boy. I mean, I bought it for $200 from my old job, and the only thing I did to it is I slapped in some I upgraded the RAM from 8 gigs of RAM to 32 and changed the video card from the 1 megabyte card that was in there or whatever it was. It was like an old card in there, and put in some like a 680 or something like that, GTX 680, just an old video card just to give it a little more oomph. But it runs, it trucks, does really well for a decade old computer.
Yes, I don't think I need to list anything else. I think I'm not getting that card in the mail. So.
Okay.
Adam, the important
Adam.
thing is if you're going to get that
he's
card
never
or
getting
not.
a card.
Is that
Never
a
gonna get it.
Fluxbox shirt? Because if it is, you'd get the card automatically.
You wish. No, it's a flux capacitor shirt. Something infinitely
Okay.
more useful than Fluxbox.
Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads.
All right, Aris, you wanted to talk about this?
Yeah, since we brought up Mac, Mac the software, it's okay. I can see a lot of benefits because of like Adam said, you have a lot of compatibility there with a lot of different things. But the hardware for me has always been like they just can't help themselves. Like other computers, you can open up, you can switch out your hard drive, you can switch out your RAM, and then they have to make everything into an appliance. You gotta use glue. They have to use rivets. They don't let you change anything. And if something goes wrong, well, you go to the Apple Store and they tell you, well, you need another new system.
Yeah,
And-
that's definitely the way it is now.
And then if you look at like laptops, you look at a laptop and you're thinking, well, I'm going to switch out batteries. Oh wait, you can't switch out batteries. The battery's built into the computer. And also like the cooling, the fans on the left side and like the CPUs in the middle, like what is that about? Like they always have little things they add to it that just annoy me. And
well,
that's why I've never really given it a chance more than that.
Aris, to your point, Ryan Dosgeek has been doing a series on Mac and the good points about it, the true points about it, the bad points. I think he's taken a lot of heat for that series, but I think it's awesome because he's actually giving it an honest look at the whole way around. And if you want a good overall overview of how Mac is today, how it operates, how good it is, how bad it is, you should watch that video series because it's pretty good.
Yep. And I mean, was on to what Eris was saying about the everything's basically integrated. It's kind of like getting a Dell back in the day. When you even got a Dell desktop, everything came integrated. It was hard to change anything around on the motherboard. Sure, you can throw in hard drive and video card and that kind of stuff, but other than that, it was hard to make any changes because they wanted to keep it in house, so to speak, because it was how they make their money is selling the hardware. That's one of the reasons why when I was looking into getting a Mac, I didn't want one of their new Macs because of the fact that everything. You can't do anything with it. Once you get it, you get it. Plus, they're thousands of dollars to get one of those things. With the price of one Mac laptop, you could buy like 4 Windows laptops, that type thing. So that's why when I was given the opportunity to get this cheese grater that I got, the 2009 Mac Pro, I mean, the thing's a tank. It must weigh, it's probably one of the heaviest cases I've ever seen. It's made of like an aluminum case. But when you open up the side panel and look inside of it, it is the way it is set up. Mine is a dual Xeon processor version of it. And it came with it has the way the drive bays are. You just slap the hard drive in there and slide it right in and goes right into the SATA slot. No cables, none of that stuff. So cleans up the cable mess. The tray slides right out for the processor and memory and stuff, and it comes right out of the hole or right out without having to do any screws. The whole thing is screwless.
Yep.
As far as getting it out and stuff like that, and then you can upgrade it to I have like the 2.2, I have the Nelium 2.26 Intel Xeon processors. I can upgrade those if I wanted to. Don't really have a need per se, because I'm not doing anything intensive on it. But they went away from that. Obviously, they're trying to keep up with make it their stuff fancier. But back in the day, the Macs were a lot more as far as the desktops went, were a lot more accessible for people to do upgrades. If you ever want to look at the different perspectives, different things about Macs, there's a website called everymac.com. It'll break down every Mac for you. Basically it looks at you can look at the upgrades, you can look at all that kind of stuff, what you can and cannot do with your Mac, basically.
All right, Abdallah.
I want to talk about what I think about macOS. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, I tested. I mean, it's very good for graphic designers. I mean, you cannot find an alternative for graphic designers in Linux. I mean, my wife, for example, she makes some pictures and she wasn't able to find a program that suits her need in terms of modifying the pictures. I mean, maybe there is some that I'm not aware of, but at the moment, she told me that doesn't suit her. I mean, to change in Linux. I mean, in Mac OS and in Windows, there is already a solution that exists. But in Linux, unfortunately, I mean, maybe some will not agree with me. I mean, that's it.
You're talking like actual photos, right?
Yeah, actual photos. Yeah, and about graphical designer, I'm talking also about 3D. I mean, I mean, if you I know that there is Blender. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, Blender 3D. But a lot of people tell me that doing graphic design in macOS is way better than any other. Yeah.
Now, is that like using just software, or is that like peripherals and stuff like that, like the little I don't know what they call them, like drawing boards or whatever they call those things?
I mean everything. I mean, I'm not a graphic designer myself. I mean, I'm just saying what people who are graphic design and tried Linux. I mean, Blender and every stuff, and they told me that doesn't fit their need. I mean, we are very we are comfortable in where we are now.
Yeah, one of my roommates. So back when I lived in Boston, was going to college. A lot of stuff, like now he does a lot of his stuff. He's an animator. He does I don't know, game design, animations and stuff like that. And yeah, it's 99.9% done on Mac.
Yeah.
So I mean, he might use a PC or something. He doesn't use Linux, but he might use PC for a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But almost every bit of it, the musical scores and all that kind of stuff, and all that is done on Mac.
Yeah, talking about music, I mean, at first, before I buy a piano, I want. I mean, there is some softwares that are made to teach you how to play piano. Unfortunately, most of them are made for either for Windows or Mac. But fortunately for me, I did find a program which works in browser. so which make it possible to use a Linux distro base in order to play my to learn music. I mean, I'm talking about music programs like don't remember, but at the moment I'm using a program called Scoove. I mean, if it wasn't working in browser, I will not be able to make it work on Ubuntu. I mean, I will either use a Windows or a Mac. Understand what I mean? So yeah.
And you also remember a time back in the, back when before Apple kind of blew up or whatever, where there was a lot of software that wasn't on Macs. It was back when the PC days when PCs were, basically all there was, not PCs but Windows, was basically all there was. I remember when there was a lot of times when people that did run a Mac were complaining because a lot of software wasn't available for them. Because the way basically, the architecture of the OS itself.
Yeah.
And obviously that changed when people started actually using the product more and more.
Yeah, but what I don't understand, I mean, both Mac and Linux, I mean, most Linux distros are based on Unix, if I'm not wrong. I mean, most of graphical design programs were first made in Unix, I mean, in the 80s. I mean, I don't understand why at this moment, 2020, we don't make a very reliable graphical program. I mean, there is Blender, but maybe.
Yep.
Well, that goes back to the user base.
Yeah,
for
the user
Linux.
share is just 3%, so you can't complain because the companies that create programs are profit driven. If you have 2 to 3% of people, and so you cannot expect them to do it. It's just like who came first, either the chicken or the egg.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
So
let me get to. I'm sorry, Jason, but we got to get to
Go ahead.
Computer Kid, and I want to move on to get you guys in before we, get out of here. Computer Kid, you wanted to get in on the Mac conversation.
So I'm gonna take the anti-Mac side, and I'm gonna
Where's Adam when you need him?
say the number one. What?
Where's Adam when you need him to have you go
Yeah.
toe to toe with him?
Look what you've started, Adam. But anyways, one of the main things that Macs do not have would be the community that Linux has, like Big Daddy Linux. You're not gonna find a Big Daddy Mac or anything like that, which is one of the main reasons I stay on Linux. And then another thing is that you can't really run Mac servers, which is a lesser point, but still, like, we're gonna have to keep Linux around.
Okay, I don't know where you're coming from with this standpoint there. I'm actually a member of many podcasts for the Mac community. One of them is called MacYak. MacYak is it's a group of guys that get together and do a little podcast every Thursday, and they do something similar to this. Not with they don't get everybody else on camera and stuff like that, but they talk about Mac related things, different what's going on in the Mac community. So that does happen, and let's see, I'm just saying there's
Well, I
there's
think
definitely a strong
his
community
larger
there.
point is that there may be certain shows that are about Mac, and there may be like a community here or a community there. But I think overall the Linux community is something that draws people in, and
It's a lot deeper and wider than I would
they
think
have
the
so
Mac
much
community
passion,
is.
Yes, but
Yeah.
There's a whole
but-
different level of passion and love for the OS.
right, the people that love Linux, you're not going to find that same level of excitement for any other operating system. That's my opinion.
Yep.
Could I say
Except for maybe
my
a-
opinion?
Abdallah, you can jump in whenever you feel the need, as long as we're not talking all over each other.
Yeah. I mean, for the Mac OS, let's suppose that there was no community. I mean, you have people who are driven by profit too. I mean, when there is a profit, you will drive more people to create more programs to Mac OS. I mean, And also, what I noticed, I mean, when I use the terminal on Linux, I was able to use the same terminal in Mac too. I mean, they are based on Unix. So if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, we do.
Yep.
Yep. So.
All right.
So I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you. Leo, I see you've joined.
He's awful quiet today.
I mean, I was letting the Mac bashing go.
Wow.
You know, I got opinions on that too. Sure.
Okay.
All right, but
Go on,
also,
Leo.
what else? What might be a reason that you would get your Linux card revoked?
Well, let me get out my trusty phone when I did that tweet. I mean, I don't know. I don't think this stuff is like hard revoke stuff, but I mean, I've always been a pragmatic guy, so I mean, you know where this is going.
Yep.
Windows and Mac OS are good operating systems. I mean, obviously, we've been talking about Mac as a good operating system this entire time, and I agree with Adam a lot on a lot of that. Where I mean, there's brew. You like apt, you like DNF, you like all these things where you like to dig into the terminal and all of that fun stuff. How many people do we have in Linux that just swear by ZFS? Or not ZFS, Zish, right? ZSH.
Yep.
Tons. And that's what comes in Mac OS. So a lot of Linux folks.
I love
if you write it home-
ZFS.
There you
Well,
go.
that
So
too.
I mean, something that might be a checkbox for you on a Mac. And as far as installing software goes, if you don't want to get it from the Apple Store, you don't have to. You got Brew. And you just whatever you want. If it's supported on Mac, there's a good chance it's already in Brew, and all you got to do is brew, install, blah, whatever. Just the same way apt and DNF work.
Sure.
And then Windows as well. It's a glorified Xbox for me, but it's really good at what it does. That's literally all it is to me. I'd swap over so I can play Path of Exile because it runs horribly through Proton. It's getting there, but one of these days it'll work. So they're good. They're absolutely good. And I would buy right now. I'd buy a 2015 MacBook right now because of the audio stuff. Because when I have to deal with my Focusrite Scarlett Solo that I'm talking on to you right now, Rocco and Dan, y'all heard it, where it will just drop me a few octaves just for fun.
Yep.
Yeah. So that doesn't happen on Mac. I use it all the time for work. Never had a single issue. I never had to click a button. I never had to check a box. I never had to do anything. I plug it in, it works. Easy. With Linux, I have to consider whether or not I want to drop Pulse and go to Jack and then have to do, a laundry list of software. And I don't know, Jack is fine. It's fine. It's scary. It looks
It
scary.
is scary.
Yeah. So that's my barrier. I'm like, I want to do it, but
We'll get you guys there.
yeah.
Makes you
Actually, if I could have Dan in my pocket when I do Jack, I think I'll be fine.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know why Microsoft has not called WSL like Whistle or something like that, because I don't know. Anyway,
That's a catchy
Whistle,
name,
I'm
yeah.
going to call it that just forever now, just so you guys know.
That
Whistle
might stick.
is pretty fantastic. I mean, you've got full Docker support now. Okay, almost there with Docker support now, but I mean, it's running a full-on Linux kernel. Linux lovers should love that, right? I feel like that.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yeah.
Leo. So this week, Daniel Llewellyn, who's been on Biddle, has been doing a ton of work to get snaps working in WSL.
That's going to be cool.
So, yeah, and what's really funny, we talk about community, and it is Linux, but there is an entirely awesome WSL community that's really working hard. And like Dan mentioned, Hayden is like really a great leader and a great representative, and he's bridging that gap between Linux and Microsoft. So yeah, I mean, and that, that's just a big shout out to both he and Dan for everything that's going on.
They do good work. I mean, I really feel like Microsoft is taking advantage of Linux in a lot of ways, but I don't think, just Computer Kid said it earlier, I don't think it's an evil thing. I think it's just profit driven. You got to make money, and Linux can just bring in the money for them, and so they're going to support it. I don't think they're going to try and crush it because it's their moneymaker. I don't know why they would do that.
And one of the, I guess it's an open secret, is that graphic support is coming fairly
Yep.
soon in WSL.
I know that's gonna be cool. It will make me boot into Windows maybe once more per week, just to try it out, man. Because I've got full Linux support on my Linux box.
Well, you know, Leo, if you boot in once a week and don't reboot, you can stay there the whole week.
Hey, listen, don't tell my secrets. Come on. I could be in Windows right now. You don't know.
Wait a minute. This is Windows. You can't run it a whole week without having to reboot at least once.
You're actually right on that. Yeah. And actually, for how long I haven't updated, there's no way.
You guys are
There's
just
no way.
haters.
I'm gonna reboot into it, and then all of a sudden it's gonna be like, hey, guess what? We got to reboot. I'm like, okay, fine. And then it'll do it again and again and again. And it'll be like, hey, you're on 2004.
So, kind of a weird thing that I've noticed, because I know rebooting is a sensitive topic for a lot of Linux users. Like, I don't know if we're just afraid of rebooting because uptime looks cool or what it is. But like, I noticed that no matter what, like anything you leave on for long enough just slowly starts having really weird, tiny paper cut issues. Like maybe like an image will be slightly like fuzzed for some reason and you can't get it to unfuzz, or like your panel is slightly off for a bit, or like certain widgets on your desktop don't really behave properly, or your audio system borks up and you have to restart the audio server. Like the reality of it is, like, I think Windows probably needs to reboot often just because it's not afraid of just, all right, we need to restart this. Whereas with Linux, it's like, we'll let everything get to the point where it's utterly garbage and broken before we reboot. Like it will be our last option because we can.
Well, I think to your point though, there are a lot of people that I hear that make the statement that, you know, this Linux machine has been, you know, up for 3 years straight and I have no problems with it. And I'm like, how is that even possible? Like, I mean, I see the things you're talking about, not to where it's, I don't think it's as dramatic on that I see, but I do see where there are times where you just need to reboot because some things just get messed up.
So counterpoint to all that, I agree. You should totally reboot, like often, especially because you get kernel updates. Don't neglect that. Reboot,
Definitely.
man.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that you don't have to reboot. You absolutely don't. If, and this is the big if right here, here's the catch to that. If you know what broke, right? I mean, if audio broke, Pulse Audio, okay, done. Like whatever, you just restart Pulse Audio and everything is fancy again. I mean, if you spend the time enough to dig into the system and know that this is behaving that way because system D is doing this or doing that, I just need to restart the service, then you can avoid a reboot in a case like that where you just restart the service and make it work. But I mean, I totally get what you're talking about. I don't run into that a whole lot because I've had Linux Mint up for, I don't know. And I mean, you know, like a month and a half or something like that because I've been neglecting my kernel updates, you know, do as I say, not as I do. Yeah. And I mean, I didn't run into a whole lot of graphical glitches that weren't fixed by a simple service restart. But there are those paper cut issues that do crop up. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
All right. Anything else, Leo, that's going to get your card revoked?
Yeah, I'll just run through them real quick. Proprietary software is better than the open source counterpart a lot of times, and I say that coming from an audio editing standpoint. GarageBand, it will kick Audacity's butt from here to there to everywhere, all day, every day, and paired up with I can just plug this thing in and it works. Yeah, I mean, I love Audacity, man. I use it all the time. I do all my shows in it.
Check out GarageBand.
It's not bad. It's not bad. And System D, better than SysV in it.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of people, and we just talked about it in the Linux user space group. There are a couple of people that are like, one's using OpenRC and one's using SysV. And it's like, whatever. You use what you want. I just think System D is better.
Well,
just started all by hand.
Right. It was Gentoo that OpenRC was on, so he did.
I just don't understand why a lot of people hate System D. I mean, I came to the party later, but I heard that it did make the life of a lot of people very easier. But I don't know why a lot of people hate the System D.
The journal is binary.
Because it's really big and it does a lot of things all at the same time.
But it's not. It's
and
not
some
really
people,
big.
some people just don't like change. There are certain reasons why you would not want to use System D. There's specific certain reasons. But a lot of people don't like change. So
The analogy
So
I've kind of created for myself is that System D is like the kernel for the kernel. It's like the controller interface on on top of it.
It is.
You need
System
that.
D is a lot of small things put together called
Mhm.
System D. It's not one big monolithic piece of software. It's a bunch of software put together.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that
That's
kind
great.
of makes the whole,
I
it
think
breaks
the
the
thing
Unix
is that
philosophy. Maybe.
Yeah.
But doesn't
The
it
thing that
take
some people
away?
don't like is that it's all those things put together. They would rather have all those things rather as separate parts that they go install rather than all those things put together. Like System D Resolve D and System D blah 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 blah.
But they're separate.
From what I understand, though, a lot of the complaints are, things that people used to do manually and were able to configure manually now are done automatically by System D. And that's
great.
not what people like.
It's bad for job security.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
hey, man, System D, you got all the new
Look,
stuff
we're
now.
all different, and it's fine to not like System D. That's okay. If you want to configure it manually, you want to use something else besides System D, that's fine. But, I think, again, we in the Linux community kind of like grow these big, huge monsters out of, something small. And System D is one of those where, yeah. We'll just leave it at that.
But there is one important thing though, is in the container world, you have stuff like Alpine Linux, which is huge in the container world that does not use System D. So there are like legitimate reasons even today to have a non-System D, but there are some of those really weird gray beard ideas that change is bad. And not Dan, I don't have a beard, but it'd be really gray. Everything would be gray if I had it. But you have that, and you have to balance the idea that there are reasons for everything. If the reasons don't work for you, it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing.
Right.
Right.
And that's something we fail in sometimes.
Hey, hey, Dan. Dan.
So,
what happened to the beard anyway? Why don't we have the beard anymore?
Well, I went back to work and I wear a face mask every day, so it was like starting to irritate me, so I had to shave it off. Yeah.
Dan, I didn't recognize it. Thank you for the help that you gave me.
Yeah.
A moment ago. But talk about System D. I mean, from what I understand, it's like a modular. I mean, not a monolith. Yeah, I mean, it's a very great idea. I mean, but the whole idea of Linux, the Linux, I mean, it's diversity, and like you said, I mean, each people have their own needs, and I mean, if you don't like System D, okay. If you like it, okay, go ahead, but don't tell people what to choose.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
I got one more point. If you got 10 seconds,
We got plenty of time, dude.
We got it.
Heck
We got it.
yeah. So my last point was, or my last, I don't know, it's controversial. I don't know if it's a Linux card revoke thing, but inclusive language and naming is imperative for women, for people of color, for every subsection of different. It's important, and we should strive to be inclusive.
So what you're saying is you are in favor of, say, the fork of GIMP to go to Glimpse.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, seriously, for people that might affect, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Glances, it doesn't matter what you call it, but it's not glances. What is it?
Glimpse.
Glimpse.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely, 100%. Do it. That should be encouraged.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
I think those are excellent, Leo. Thank you very much.
Okay, so wait, do I get to keep my card or not?
No.
I don't think any of us are keeping any card.
Look,
No.
we're waiting
It's
till the
okay,
end.
Leo. They took my card too.
We're waiting till
Okay.
the end to decide on
Oh,
everybody,
okay.
So
All
we
right,
still
cool.
got one
I will-
more, and then
I
we'll
will
let you
wait.
know.
Okay, what about me?
Hang on. Jason, you're last on our list here currently. What do you have that may be revoking your Linux card?
Well, we already talked about one of those things, which was the Mac.
Mhm.
I do have that right here. I do use that pretty much every day. It's a one of the servers I run. It's not running X server or anything. That's just a Mac OS Mojave right now. And but I do have I don't know, about 6 terabytes worth of drives on there that I used it for as a backup server to store backups in one of the locations. And I have my Windows machine, which I store more backups on. Then I have different things, other things. But I do use Windows on a daily basis. That's probably one of the biggest ones that'll get my card revoked for the Linux community, mostly for work-related things. But it's also for obviously gaming. I do play a World of Warcraft, or as we call it in the community, World of Warcrack. Currently in the beta, get to test out the new stuff. Love it. But I mean, that's probably the biggest thing. Is I honestly, and lately, I have been using Windows a lot more than Linux because I've been, doing a lot more stuff with the home network as far as the backup stuff goes. Because I use the Windows machine as the main backup system that has, my brother's backs up his stuff to it. We have like a 16 terabyte system in there of drives where we back up all our computers there. He has like 8 computers. I have 8 computers, something like that. We all just throw it all onto that, all the different things that we have on them, we use them for. But I mean, that's the biggest thing. Lately, I have set up over here. I have 2 Linux laptops that I use for, distro hopping. So I still do that occasionally. I have, I think one of them's Manjaro, which doesn't change. That one stays Manjaro. Then the other one it alternates. I think right now I have Elementary OS on it. And just messing around with that. But for the most part, the biggest, card rip out thing there, take away, what do you want to call it? Revoke would probably be the fact that, I still use Windows a lot and I use Mac a lot. But I'm with Rocco, and it shouldn't matter what you use as long as it's, it's something you enjoy using and need to use.
Yep.
Use it.
Why would you not encourage somebody to use something that they like using?
I don't get it. I don't know.
Like,
It's me.
just
But you see
because
that in
it's-
every community. Like I said, I'm part of the Mac community. I'm part of the, different podcasts for Mac and just stuff like that, like I do with the Linux community. PC, not so much. I do watch a lot of PC related, PC build related type things, and go in the forums and help people troubleshoot the computers and stuff of that nature. But the biggest and most negative community out there, period, Windows. There are so many.
It's
I don't know what you
so
want to call it,
big, dude.
elitists.
It's so big, dude. And there are so, obviously, like the rest of everybody is included in that. There are a certain few pockets, like years ago, I used to be in, like, most of them were on forums, though. Like, this was before, like, Telegram and all that kind of stuff. So you would find it mostly in forums, but like Windows 7 Club, and there was a few other ones that were like, they had a good bunch of guys in there and they were always helpful, but nothing that compares to the Linux community. And like I said, maybe there are certain pockets of Mac communities out there, but I don't think that they compare in their passion, their generosity, and their community. I don't think they compare.
Only with the only time that you ever really see anybody in the Mac community speak up, or whatever you want to call it, or show anything is when they get the new shiny.
Right.
That's pretty much it, because that is for the quote unquote elite money group.
But that's
people that
more
got so much money they can drop $20,000 on the new desktop one there.
But that's more showing off of what you have rather than being excited about a project or,
That's what I'm saying. That's the only time they get excited, is when they get a new shiny. Other than that, you get a couple people like, Louis Rossman and stuff like that are interesting to watch, because they're doing repairs and they're talking about, the right to repair and all that good stuff. But other than that, I mean, there's a couple groups that I follow. Like I said, Mac Yak was one of them. Where it's just a group of guys that, like, it's like this. There's a group of guys. There's 4 of them that are on the main channel. Then we get up, and after the video they do on Thursday, then we go hang out in Discord and chat about different things. And they all have crazy, but they're more retro Mac stuff than new Mac stuff. Like they do they still have some of the old Power PCs and stuff like that type thing. Not really the new modern stuff.
Could I
Yes.
ask a question of Jason when it's okay?
Do it, Ziggy.
I think, did you just mention every Mac, Jason? Did you?
Yeah, everymac.com. Yep.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that, so I've just looked it up and looked up my own MacBook Pro that I'm using for this Zoom call tonight. And I haven't got around to investigating, but if I want to put Linux on this MacBook Pro, not dual boot, it's a mid 2015 2.2 gigahertz Intel i7. Will it work without a problem, you think, or could I run into driver issues?
No, you're not gonna run it. If it's an Intel based Mac, yeah, you won't have any problems at all. It'll run it just fine. The only issue you may have is you have to get in. I'm not sure with the Mac. So I've never tried installing Linux on a Mac personally. The only issue you might be running into is getting the boot. Like for me, I have issues getting to the boot screens where I can actually see all the hard drives I want to install on. Or I don't know if that's an issue with the newer ones. Mine's a decade old, so it's got a little finicky.
Yeah,
I think
it's not a
Shickle might
problem.
have an answer.
Chill, go ahead.
Yeah, I have, so I have every generation of Mac in my computer collection. I have over 600 computers. And they all do dual boot the original OSs, including my old, Power PCs and Motorola Performas. They dual boot the original OS as well as Linux. Now, sometimes that is a trick to get both together. But if you just want to install one distro, the one that universally has worked really well, of course, is Debian. It works on all the Macs without a problem. And sometimes, there'll be a few driver issues with some of the laptops, but I've always been able to get Debian to work on even the most.
Do you mean pure Debian, Jill, or do you mean any variant of Debian?
Go with Debian Classic. So the older installs of Ubuntu actually work well too, especially with the PowerPC Macs. But that's unsupported now with the newer distros.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I might be better off just dual booting in case something goes wrong. But
yeah. Also, Mint PPC is another. I just put Mint PPC on my Mac Pro G4, and it
sorry,
worked
say that
pretty well.
again. Mint what?
Mint PPC for Mint Power PC. It's Linux Mint, especially made for the Power PC. And
I did not
been
know about this. What?
Yeah, I've been
How did
playing
you
with that
not
one
know about this,
recently.
Leo? You of all people.
Leo, disappointed.
In fact,
isn't the
I
word
just
mint in there?
Or
so
you
it's
know, I might just buy one of these. What's that new laptop that's out for $199?
The Pinebook.
Oh, the
Pinebook Pro.
Oh, those are
Get one
great.
of
Yeah.
those because in actual fact, this MacBook Pro is very heavy.
Yeah, there's
yes.
actually a lot of good options for Linux. We touched
Yeah.
on that in Linux user
Jar
space.
Labs and
It was-
Tuxedo
Yes, you did.
and
Yeah.
Pine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Shickle, did you have something you wanted to add about the Macs or installing Linux on the Mac?
Yeah. What year model was this that you said that it was?
Mid 2015.
2016.
15.
15.
No,
Okay.
15. Yeah.
15. All right. So I don't think you should have to worry about like the TPM2 chips because I think that was late 2018 or early 2019. So I had a 2016 MacBook Pro, and I was able to get a few things installed on it. Ubuntu was fine, Debian was fine, Elementary OS was fine. If you go with Debian or Ubuntu one thing that I know is that drivers do tend to be pretty easy to get. If you just plug in like Ethernet or like Ethernet over USB, there's usually any Wi-Fi drivers that are missing. There's usually something already made for it. So yeah, I think Jill's pretty much on the right track there. Is that the Debian stuff is really good at that.
Yeah, and actually, Shickle, you brought up a really good point because that was one of the big things with the Mac laptops, the 2016, 27 laptops, was Wi-Fi being an issue. That definitely was a thing.
One of the things I'd be looking for is I find the battery life on this MacBook Pro appalling. Even just regular, not particularly heavy video intensive work or anything, watching a video and not even just doing that, just browsing. I'd have to think about it now, but I reckon I'd be lucky to get 6 hours from a full charge.
Yeah. Well, we have a newcomer, Alex. How are you, sir? We have to get your opinion on this,
Oh, I wasn't prepared.
Hi,
I
Alex.
know you're not prepared.
Hello. Well, I'm the idiot
Hey,
that
Alex.
just dropped several $1,000s on a brand new 16-inch MacBook Pro. So
What would you do that for?
because I want to get real work done.
Oh wow!
Oh wow!
Okay,
now we're talking about getting Linux cards revoked.
Wow!
Right there.
So the whole
I know. I'm talking to you from
Them
an
are
Arch
fighting
desktop,
words.
so at least I have some credibility left. But the reason is, right, if you think about it, all day I'm doing video conferences for my day job. I'm moving around the house between different places, and then I was before the event traveling to customer sites and stuff like that. So I needed something with super reliable Wi-Fi, super reliable, good screen for my photography and drone stuff. I still mourn the SD card slot. I'm still sad that that's gone, but it just in general, I mean, I find the Mac as a really good middle ground. There isn't any Linux hardware, in my humble opinion, that matches quite what Apple make. In terms of fit and finish and build quality, you pay for it through the nose several times. But that's why I did it. And when I was looking at the XPS 17, which was coming out, came out a couple of months ago, around the time when I made this purchase, there was one thing that really kind of just turned me off it, and that was when you unplug from the wall, the battery, the physical battery inside the Dell can't supply enough wattage to the components for it to run at full speed on battery. So when you unplug from the wall, you lose about 40% of your performance, which is just, why would I pay $3,000 for a top line laptop that has to be plugged in? I'm just not going to do that. And my MacBook just does what it says on the tin. It's a workhorse. It's a tool for me. It's like a carpenter with a set of particular chisels. It just gets out the way and gets the job done. So
I think that's a fair call.
The whole premise of this conversation, Alex, was that we are talking about things that you going to make your confessions that would get your Linux card revoked. So that obviously has to be one of them, owning a new Mac. But are there any other confessions you can make that would get your
really
Linux
like my iPad Pro too? That's nice.
You technology lover.
What else? I mean, I run Windows for gaming. Like, I have a separate system for that.
Yeah, me too. Yep.
It's all good.
I think Alex's major confessions would be what he does remotely in the UK that's not Linux related over a terminal connection. Like some major updates that you have to talk your dad through. And
oh my goodness, yeah. In the last episode of Self-Hosted, we talked about I upgraded the firewall in my dad's house from pfSense to OpenSense remotely.
Nice.
I was insane to even try it. It took us 4 hours, but we got there in the end. But that was so dumb. Because think about it. What's the one thing you don't have when you're upgrading a firewall? Internet.
It's network.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
But guys and girls, I think the reality here is all of us could probably use PhotoGimp or Photoshop to print a new card if it were taken away from us.
Right. Obviously.
Or Krita.
Yeah.
Exactly. No one has printers anymore, so how are they going to print cards?
Digitally enhance them.
I have.
And post them on.
I have a 3D printer. I can 3D print my card.
Well, let me get Nate, before we come to our conclusions here, let me get Nate in here. Nate, how are you?
Yay, Nate.
How's my volume? Is it okay?
Slightly low, but go ahead.
It's low.
Low.
Is that a basketball jersey, Nate?
That's better. That's better.
No, it's not. I've been outside working, so Bill, back off, all right?
I say it with a smile. So what would get my Linux card revoked? Well, I have to say, I don't like Windows, and I think Mac is a miserable experience. Sorry if I offended anybody. Like I would literally rather bash my head with a 16-ounce hammer than use Mac OS. It's that bad for me. So what would get my Linux card revoked?
Wow.
I've been playing Pokemon Go on Android with my kids for the last few days, and I've been enjoying that. And I think that's enough to get my Linux card removed.
I think it is.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's fun.
Android is running a Linux
Pokemon.
kernel, darling. So
Yes, but it's the whole Pokemon Go and him enjoying it.
Yeah.
Thing,
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
the problem.
Hang on,
Hey,
wait.
what-
Is there a
Commodore
Pokemon?
your own time,
64.
mate, is up to you, man.
Hey Nate, it's working on the Linux kernel, so there you go.
Well,
Is there
okay, so
a
here-
Pokemon Linux thing I don't know about?
I don't know. So here's the thing that's really been like gnawing at me is I've actually been enjoying it, and I actually took my phone and I went for a 6-kilometer run just so I could get some more Charmander candy. I don't know what I mean. Like I don't know what's mad with me, but like
I think you're
I'm
addicted.
liking it.
I think you're
Charmander,
addicted.
best Pokemon.
Is it actually? I like Pikachu.
Oh, yeah.
because he's I don't know that
No,
whatever.
I thought
Charmander's
he
that
was
one
the
that
only
sits in your
one.
back
Oh,
pocket.
Leo,
he'll
I-
just take care of anything for you.
Leo, I just noticed your Office Space poster in the background. I love that movie.
Yeah,
Good, that's a good call.
absolutely.
All right, so we've talked about confessions that would get your Linux card revoked. Dan, who do you think the worst offender was?
I don't. I have to vote on that.
I
Jeez.
mean, like, well, I
gonna be
mean,
me,
let's open it
isn't
up.
it?
Let's open it up. Who do you think out of all of these, if anybody wants to answer, who do you think out of all of us would probably get their card revoked the fastest?
Big Pod's volunteering to take one for the team.
There you go. Well, I only heard a couple of them because I came in late, so I can't really vote on that.
I would
I don't
say
know.
probably Schickel, Big Pod, or myself would probably get the 3 top.
I think Adam. He's not here to defend himself, but I
This
think
is
Adam
true.
deserves
This is true.
a revocation of any Linux card.
He did the perfect Adam. He came in, he stirred the pot, and he left.
Yeah,
That's exactly what he does.
Yeah, I think it would be him. It'd be him.
Yeah, he started
It
a
would totally
long
have been him.
conversation, and he did his little thing, got the like you said, stirred the pot, and he's like, "I'm just gonna slip out quietly while
Just
nobody's
disappear.
watching."
I think he's playing World of
I don't need to
Warcraft.
be in here as long as there's good conversation. I'll just watch it.
So what do you think the worst, out of all of the things that we have admitted that we do, what do you think the worst is that would cause the most ruckus?
I would say Pokemon Go.
That's really bad. That's just absolutely unacceptable. Can't do
It's
that.
ridiculous. Are you at least doing it like on your Pine phone with Android on an SD card or something?
No,
Nope,
I'm
not even
doing
doing
it on a
that.
I'm doing it on a Moto
Oh,
G6.
come on.
That face says it all.
You couldn't have just
Yeah.
loaded up Android on your Pine phone. Whatever,
Or-
and use some redemption.
You know, I'm really good at failing. Like I'm pretty much top-notch failer at all things, and that's one of them.
It's all good. We're all pragmatic. I think that's what the conclusion is, right?
Well,
Hey,
let's
hey,
be
Dan,
honest here. Let's be
we have
honest.
some-
If you're on this call on Zoom, you're a pragmatist.
We
Yes.
have some pragmatism, and
Everyone
that's
who's
okay.
loaded up Zoom right now.
There are some people out there that hate this show and hate the people on this show, and that's okay. I don't really care because I love
take
each and
offense
every
to
one
that.
of you.
We are all so likable.
I take offense
Love
too.
Ooh, I've just thought of a good one.
What?
Launching a Discord server for a self-hosted podcast. That was a pretty.
That was pretty.
That's a good one.
To be
Fun to
fair, there
watch.
is a Biddle
Well-
Discord and a Biddle Telegram, so
Yes,
Yeah.
but
Well,
when
to
you're
be
when you're
absolutely fair, if you're going to do this, if you're going to talk about Discord for self-hosted, what about Wimpy's World from
Yeah.
the head of the
Ooh.
desktop for Ubuntu?
Yes,
so, you know, you gotta.
but I don't know. I mean, like when you have a show that's concentrated on self-hosting, then
Yeah,
you
that's a
start
real
Discord
crime. That's not
server.
gonna.
Yeah.
Man, that's pretty bad.
They're not
dude.
gonna take his Linux card. They're gonna take his self-hosting card.
right?
Well,
but
I
Plex
want
will
to
send him a new one.
I want to go back to one of the things we were talking about because it actually has to do with the Linux user space episode coming up, and we talked about rebooting. And one of the things that we found am I allowed to say what distro we were
No,
discussing?
not at all. You
Aw.
can't
Okay.
talk about Fedora. Don't.
Okay, so Fedora, we were testing Fedora 32 for the last 2 weeks, and one of the things that Fedora does is you hit upgrade and reboot. So you don't actually get to see the upgrades live in your system. You restart the computer, it updates the system, and then it reboots back into the machine, and it gives you a listing of all the updates that happened. But you don't actually
You
get...
guys are trying to stay away from distros I like.
Right, and I said on Linux user space, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I think that is okay, maybe? I don't know. But then some of me says, man, I don't like that at all because that kind of has the whole Windows 10 kind of feel where you're not allowed to be in your system while it's updating. So what do you guys think of that whole scenario where it doesn't give you that option to do just a regular upgrade? If you do it in the terminal, I guess it does. But like using the GUI, it doesn't give you
Are
that
we
option.
talking about desktop systems or server systems?
Desktop systems.
Yeah.
Okay.
GNOME,
Well,
actually, GNOME in
ahead.
particular, right? Because I don't think
Plasma
any of
doesn't do
the
that.
other spins do that.
Right.
No, the spins do not do that.
Shickle, go ahead.
I think it's a good thing. I'm one of those people who likes to like pop into the terminal to update things because I like watching it all fly by and it's really fun to watch. But I don't think that that's very appealing to like almost everybody except for us. I think everybody else is like, this is really hacky and weird, and I don't want to like to be able to just click update and then it just do its thing. You don't have to worry about services needing to be restarted. Sorry, Leo. You don't need to worry about, killing things, starting them back up again, or I mean, kernel updates as well. I know sometimes you don't have to reboot, but the thing is I don't think most users know when something needs to reboot or not. Like, if it's a driver update, do they know really what to restart or whether it needs, like the hardware itself probably needs to go through a cycle?
Here's a counter to that though, right? We have over the last 20-ish years developed an awful lot of knowledge about how to safely update stuff whilst people are in the user space. Why do we need to do it this way now?
Right.
That is a good point. A lot of things just kind of switch out without us realizing it.
I think it's a comfort and safety
Like
thing.
snaps, the thing that everyone loves. Snaps are supposed to Isn't one of the main points is that they update without you noticing, and then just boom, they're updated.
No, I do
'Cause
notice
every time
because Nextcloud is always like, hey, guess what? You had an update.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Nextcloud's chatty.
That's why you need to run it in Docker. That way it can never update.
Well, I understand why they do it. I just don't know, not convinced that I like that or not. Not sure. But I thought it funny because we were testing Fedora and we were talking about it. So you'll find that come out Monday, but yeah.
If you're not sure about something like that, that generally gives you your answer.
Yeah, you're probably
That's
right.
a good point.
I mean, so I think that is kind of like snaps in general. They're not, for an extreme power user, they probably aren't very pro snap. But for a beginner user or somebody who wants to create apps for Linux and is not used to it, it's great for beginners. So maybe this is a situation where it's more of a beginner thing and less of a pro user thing. Because I mean, wouldn't a pro user already go to the terminal?
When I was a wee Linux lad, like Docker allowed me to run apps that I would, installing Plex back in the day was it was a bunch of scripts and you had to do this and then, whereas now it's Docker run Plex and
Alex, can you help Dave Jones with that? Because one of his confessions was he has a Windows Plex server.
Oh,
no. Well, Alex,
is a thing. So
well, just look.
But Alex, then you also have to do
as well.
Just teasing, dude.
You also have to set up volumes and open ports, and you have to do all that.
But that's really easy to understand. At least I think anyway. Like,
it is.
I want to store my data in this specific point, And then when I remove the
But
application,
it is
oh, cool, my data's still there. I haven't just nuked everything.
Yeah.
And I want to allow a specific port. And like compared to what it used to be 10 years ago, like the barrier to entry is so much lower because of containers.
I might not be a good
So,
person to talk about this then, since I wasn't here 15 years ago.
yeah, and I feel the same way about System D. I was listening to the talk about System D earlier, that lowers the barrier to entry for a lot of people because it's a single standard interface across dozens of different distros, like systemctl, status, blah,
Yeah.
works on Ubuntu, on Red Hat, on all of these different things. Whereas before I had to learn these esoteric different ways that people did things, and for me it made Linux make sense. And opinion on it.
Yeah,
I think it's easier to understand. Yeah.
I could
Not
say,
perfect, but
could I add? Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
I mean, that's a very make you save your time to learn other things that you prioritize. I mean, within the framework of Linux.
All right, we are out of time. It's 4:57. MC, I said we were going to get to your thing. We'll have to get to that on a regular biddle if you're going to be around, but either way, we'll get to it. But everybody gets a last word. Dan, any more confessions before your last word?
No, I don't think I have any more. Yeah, I think I've said enough now. Anyway, thank you very much for hosting this group. We had excellent discussion today. So really, really loved it. Really enjoyed. And I hope to be around tonight for regular biddle.
Thanks for helping out, brother.
You bet. Anytime.
Dave Jones, last word.
Thanks a lot, Rocco. It was a real interesting episode, and I enjoyed listening to everyone go through their walk of shame. And it was a lot of laughs, and I can't wait until tonight to hear what's going to be happening.
Bill, last word.
I just want to thank you and Dan for all the stuff you do. And I just want to point out Sylvia Ritter released the Ubuntu 20.10 Groovy Gorilla artwork this week.
So
it is absolutely gorgeous.
Beautiful.
And
So
I just
really cool.
want to have everyone take a look at that if they can.
Can you pull up a link for us, Bill?
Yeah, I'll get you a link in a second.
All right, thanks. Jill, last word.
Yeah, so thank you again, Rocco and Dan. Yay for hosting. And I will see you next month. I love you guys, and I miss not being here every week. It's hard.
Yep.
So, but Linux Gamecast calls.
Gotta go. Hey,
Yeah.
gotta do what you gotta do. Eris, last word, brother.
Thank you for the stream, Rocco, and everybody who helps out.
Big Pod.
Well, while I was talking, I remembered a few more of the.
Oh my gosh, you're
confessions, but
already in enough trouble,
let's-
Big Pod.
Let's leave those for the Zoom chat. So maybe that for the Zoom chat. But otherwise, I use a lot of containers, so those are amazing. And we'll see you later on the regular biddle.
Tony, last word.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, Rocco. It was good. Halfway through, I had to check to make sure I was still on Biddle because there was so much talk about Mac. I thought perhaps I'd slipped over to the wrong show.
Yeah.
But as a 10-year Mac user, I think it's good, but not so good since Steve Jobs passed and things changed. And I came to Linux because it's more customizable. So I think Linux is better than Mac now. That's my 2 cents worth of that. But anyway, enjoyed the show. Hopefully I'll be awake to join you all later for the proper one, where hopefully there'll be no talk of Mac.
No guarantees.
No guarantees. MC, last word.
Hey, just thanks to everyone for showing up and contributing to a really interesting afternoon conversation.
Sam, last word. Sam, you are muted if you're trying to talk. All right, we'll get back to you. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you for letting me in. This was my first time in a Zoom call, so I'm a bit nervous. So just take that. And I'm not that much of a speaker, so I'm a bit short of words. And I loved this podcast. It's the first time I'm speaking on Linux. Though I have been using Linux, I have not been part of any group as such. I didn't have a group who were enthusiastic about Linux and using Linux and showing people how to come in and all. So it was a new experience for me.
Very nice.
So,
You're welcome back
yeah.
anytime, brother.
Yeah, Sam, great. You did a great job.
All right, Chickle.
Well, I just wanted to say, like, welcome to the people who have joined and haven't been here.
Yeah.
Like, that's fantastic seeing more people hop in. I love that. But also, Linux user space I highly recommend it. I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, but I was listening to it at work and having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, it's funny, it's witty, and also there's a chance to learn some stuff. So I check it out.
Definitely.
Yeah, Joe doesn't show up here anymore on Biddle because we keep blaming him for everything.
We ran him off. You're not wrong.
Ziggy,
I mean, it is his fault.
last word, brother.
Well, once again, thank you for letting me join. There's nothing I like better, well, nearly nothing I better say that in case my wife ever hears this podcast, than listening to Big Daddy Linux. And I'm also a Linux Mint user, so I'm looking at you, Leo, on Mintcast.
Yes.
I also love Alex's show, self-hosted. The Pseudo Show, 2.5 admins, Linux User Space, Destination Linux, Late Night Linux, you name it. I love it all. It's fantastic. I'm out there working in the garden or going for a walk, listening to all that, and it's just fabulous. Thank you very much. One last very quick thing is a quick word to Computer Kid. I heard the guys give you a bit of stick a few weeks ago for telling dad jokes. Let me tell you, you have to start really young in life, become proficient and good at it. So well done you.
Yeah, he's excellent at that.
We got too many dad jokes here. Computer Kid, go ahead. Last word.
You never have enough dad jokes.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, guys, and making this possible. And I hope I didn't lose my card.
We'll have to wait and see on that.
Nah.
Abdallah, last word.
That's great.
Well, thank you for accepting me and for letting me joining your chat here and Zoom. I mean, it's the first time that I do a conference, and I was quite not prepared for it. And excuse the way I talk in English. I mean, it's not my native language, so
that's okay.
And again, thanks. That's all.
All right, Robin, last word.
Thank you as ever, everybody, and good to see some smiley, happy faces here, and interesting discussion here today, which has been fantastic. And Mac, yeah, I've got to say, please try not to carry that discussion on any further. All I got to say is that this new update that's coming, I don't think my eyes are going to like it, but yeah, that's my 2 pennies on that one there. So thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. And thanks, everybody, for supporting my channel. It's fantastic there. And loving all of the podcasts and the great content that you guys are throwing out there each and every week. So thank you very much indeed. And I look forward to speaking with you all again on September the 12th.
There you go. Leo, last word, brother.
Thank you very much, Zig. I didn't know you listened. I appreciate that. It's an honor to be like in that list of things that you had. So yeah, thank you very much. And thanks, Rocco, Dan, for putting this on. I really appreciate it. I love coming in here, hanging out, especially, stirring the pot a little bit with some Mac stuff, whatever. But yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Jason, last word.
Well, I just want to say thank you for putting this on, Rocco and Dan. It's definitely great to get together with a group of people talking. In this case, we talked all kinds of stuff, not just Linux. We talked about, like everybody's mentioning, Macs. Talked a little bit about the Windows, the redheaded stepchild, aka Windows. But it's just great to be here and great to have these conversations.
Alex. Last word.
Hello. I just enjoy popping in and saying hi, and I think it's great. The more people, there's so many familiar faces here from JB, from all of the Late Night Linux stuff, and just all the other podcasts and stuff. Like, I recognize so many of you. It's really cool. So yeah.
All right, Nate. Last word.
Thanks for having me. See you tonight.
All right. Well, I just wanted to make one thing clear. Everybody talks about this being a podcast, and I think this gets lumped in with being a podcast, and it is, I guess you could say, but it's not meant to be that way. It's meant to be a virtual lug, basically, that we can all get together and talk. So it will never have the polish or the shine of a podcast. It'll never have the best audio. It'll just be what it is. It'll be just a virtual lug that we get together and we have fun. And I put it out in podcast form so you guys can listen to it that way. But I just wanted to clarify what it actually is. And that's a good group of people getting together. So we are going to be back in less than 3 hours for the regular Biddle. If you'd like to join us then at 8 p.m. And other than that, we will see you then. Long live Linux.
Indeed. Thank you, guys.
See you guys.
Love you.
Big Mac.
Everybody.
Bye.